Now I request Shri Durga Shankar Mishra, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India, to deliver his keynote address. जोरदार तालियों के साथ स्वागत करें श्री दुर्गा शंकर मिश्रा जी।
Good afternoon to all of you. So, let me first thank ILETS for inviting me for this session, which is on leveraging technology for the urban transport sector. That is the focus of this 1 hour deliberation, and I have here officers from the Government of India, from the state government, and also from the industry who will be assisting me in deliberation on this particular subject. Well, in the earlier session prior to this, you have been discussing about the smart city. I am sure you might have been given the background of why this is smart city, what is the smart city, and what is that you are going to do, what is you are going to expect from these smart cities. Urbanization in our country is moving at a very, very fast pace. In the 2011 census, the population was nearly 32%, which is around 370 million, 37 crores urban population. And this population is expected to reach nearly 650 million, 65 crores by 2031. And by 2050, we are going to be major urban country, where the total population is going to be more than 50%. So that is the fast pace at which urbanization is growing in the country. Well, how does this urbanization happen? Either the existing cities are growing, the size is growing, or the smaller cities are becoming bigger, or maybe the new cities are coming up. And the challenges before the urban planners, administration, is how to cater to the requirement of those who are living in these urban cities. The focus is on the citizens. When the cities are growing, different kinds of problems are cropping up, which the current dispensation, our Honorable Prime Minister sees this as a big opportunities, because this can be a major game changer. There is going to be a lot of economic activities when the cities are growing to cater to the different requirements of the citizens. Requirements like drinking water is very basic necessity. Sanitation, you have to live in a clean environment. Solid waste, liquid waste, all that sanitation is very, very essential. Electricity, if you are living in a city, because people are migrating from the rural area to the urban area with the expectation of improved quality of life. They want better education for the children. They want better health facilities for the children, for themselves. They want better entertainment facilities. So they are catered to their various requirements. They are catered to in the best possible way. They would like to have the best opportunities for the employment. They would like to have opportunities for realizing their best potentials, whatever is their potential. Whatever skills they have, that potential needs to be achieved. And with that motive, they are migrating from the rural to the urban area. So there, they would definitely like to have the best quality of life. And all these basic things which I said, they are very, very essential. At the same time, to achieve these things, they have to move across the city, move within the city. Move from the city to the semi-urban area where some new facilities are coming up. The movement becomes very, very important, and you will all be realizing today in the cities, one of the major problems is the traffic congestion. You move from here to Gurgaon, and you will find the distance-wise you are traveling only say 20 to 25 kilometers, the time you will take 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Why? There is so much of traffic on the road. So transport is going to be one of the most important segments of the urban challenges which needs to be addressed. And the Government of India has given so much of importance that in the year 2006, it came up with a new transport National Transport Policy 2006. And from thereforth, various actions have been taken. For example, today we have 12 cities in which either the metros are already operational. We have more than 300 kilometers of the metro rails which are operational in this country, out of which some 200 plus kilometers is just in Delhi and NCR region. And another more than 500 kilometers of metros are at different stages of implementation. So in next 3 years, we are going to have some 800 to 850 kilometers of the metros across the city, across the country. And many more, proposals for more than 500 kilometers of metro, that is at different stages of consideration. So in all, it is going to be some maybe 1400 to 1500 kilometers of metros, but will metros take care of this the challenge which is going to be there? The answer is definitely no. Because metros only in big cities and it is catering only to very small segment of the traffic requirements. For example, in city of Delhi with more than 213 kilometers of the total metro lines, what it is catering to is not even 20% of the total traffic need of the city of Delhi. Think of it, if metros were not there, what would have been the situation in Delhi now? The Government of India also funded some 22,500 buses across some 150 odd cities. The idea was, through these buses and through bus infrastructure, we are able to provide some kind of a city urban transport facilities. And we provide some kind of a model through which the public transport become an important mode of transport. Because what is happening today, in 1951, the total number of vehicles in the country was just 30 lakhs, 0.3 million. This has grown to more than 150 million, more than 15 crores today in the country. Its growth is almost nearly 8% per annum. And this growth in the last decade has been more than 10%. If you take growth from 51 onwards, this is around 7.7 to 8%, and that growth has gone to more than 10% in the last 1 decade. It's moving so fast. The total buses population was almost, the buses population, it is going down, percentage-wise going down. And the whole structure is changing. So we need to address this issue very, very effectively. And this 22,500 buses, that was like a catalyst to bring in some kind of a public transport system in the bigger cities. We have also funded comprehensive mobility plans, so that cities come up and prepare their comprehensive mobility plan. They come out with ideas and find out what needs to be done. When you see some of the comprehensive mobility plan of the cities, you will find one thing which cuts across common to all the cities is major focus on the non-motorized traffic, non-motorized transport. In any cities, you go any city outside this country, you will find nearly 40 to 50% of the transport needs are met by the non-motorized transport. Either people are walking, going to the different destinations. The whole development is called the transit-oriented development. It has been such that people don't have to go long distances. They have to go only short distances like 400 meter, 500 meter for meeting the requirement of entertainment, sports, maybe their work requirement, maybe their business requirement, maybe their other requirements, whatever needs are there, they cater within say 400 to 500 meters, so you only have to walk. Or they take a cycle. If you have to go for more than 500 meters, maybe a kilometer and a kilometer and a half, mostly going by the cycle. So you don't have to enter into any kind of a polluting mode of the transport system. And if you go on a longer distance, then you take a metro, you take a bus system, so that you are traveling, say if you have to travel 5 to 10 kilometers, then you take a metro system, bus system or such systems, so that there is less traffic on the road, less congestion on the road, and the pollution is at the least. So that is the kind of system which we have to, and also we have to think in terms of the way cities have developed. We have Mr. Saxena here, you must have seen his book, Rethinking new urbanism. I mean, we have to think in terms of the cities because the cities are going to grow. The population in the Indian cities, this is going to grow whatever we do. One is the natural growth. The natural growth is around 20 to 21%. The last decadal growth was 32%. That means another 12% was migrating from the rural to the urban areas, and it is going to grow because everybody now today with the our electronic media penetrating right up to the village level, people are seeing that what a good life is. And everybody has an aspiration, they would like to get their children educated in the best possible way in an English education system, going to a higher education system and taking up a job, improving on the economic scale. So everybody wants to move from the rural to the urban area. I am also from the rural area. I was born in a village. My initial education was a village. I mean, I have studied beneath the tree. We hardly had one classroom for up to the class 5. But from there I moved to a city, had my education in a city school. Then I had education in one of the top engineering colleges, Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. Then I also had education outside the country. They did my masters from outside. All this happening from the rural area where I spent my initial 12 to 13 years of my earlier life I spent in my village. Everybody has that kind of aspiration. Everybody wants. In fact, now there is a concept of rurban, where the rural area turning into the urban with the urban amenities. That's the kind of concept it is. So this is something going to come. And when it is going to come, we need to address this issue and address this issue through, one is the traditional way, and the other is using technology, leveraging technology for answering these things in the best possible, in the earliest possible way. What has happened across the world, how the public transport has taken over, how non-motorized transports have taken over, how, things like I was just discussing with my colleague in Uber, he was going to mention that, how, people can, you are taking the car and only one person is going from his house to the workplace. But many more people are moving in the same direction. The car can accommodate 4 people. Why should only one person go by the car? Because that much of area on the road, you are just covering on that road and just one person is moving. It is not something which is good for us. So how we can, use the technology so that people can congregate and move on the road, less pollution, less congestion on the road. That is the challenge which is being addressed through different kinds of modes. One, technology is the metro system. Then now there is we are working in, we have received proposals from government of Kerala on the LRT system. We are also developing, you must have heard of regional rapid transport system, where we are going to connect Meerut through the rapid transport system, regional rapid transport system. We are going to connect Panipat so that people who are coming, there are different kinds of settlements right from Panipat down to Delhi, so people can take that kind of a mode, fast mode. The trains which travels at a speed of nearly 200 km per hour, but it stops every 3 kilometers, and every settlement people can come from there, come to Delhi, go back to their place, taking not more than 1 hour, maybe 60 to 70 minutes. That is the kind of thing which is happening outside this country, and it is going to happen. There's already our national NCRTC, National Capital Region Transport Corporation, is working on this, how we can have a regional kind of connectivity. We are also receiving proposals from the different mega cities within the country that they also want to connect this kind of a regional transport system. So this is going to be this is the need of the hour. This is the need of the hour, and this is going to take the future direction. So the kind of audience here is maybe, if you have any specific queries, my other panelists are going to give you the details on that, and maybe we'll reserve the last 10 to 15 minutes where I would like to answer to the different things which you would like to ask from us. And I will only request the industry which is present here. This is the need today. We must address in a very, very innovative way. We have, our national government, the central government is providing a proper ecosystem for Make in India. proper ecosystem for digital India. I mean, this is various kinds of startup India, various things which are being provided. So people should come forward and try to address this issue of the traffic congestion, of a pollution-free movement of the people. Because what is most important when you think of citizens, it is vehicle which is not important, metro is not important, rail is not important. What is important? How he can reach to his place of his choice, whether it is for his business, for his work, for his entertainment, for whatever, for education, whatever mode it is. So with these words, I will stop it here and request my other panelists to add to this, and then we'll take questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I request a representative from Uber to put the industry perspective, how Uber can contribute to the smart transportation. I invite representative from Uber. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that post-lunch sessions can be quite sleep-inducing. So I will keep my presentation very brief. At the outset, I am honored to be part of such an august panel. In my presentation, I would like to focus on what Uber is doing in the smart mobility space. As you are aware, Uber is a technology company which is aggregating transportation services across the world. So I'd like to start by how did this idea originate? And much like any revolutionary idea, the idea of Uber came from a realization of a problem. The transportation system across the world was broken, and the co-founders, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp, on a snowy evening back in 2008 in Paris, they had trouble booking a car. And hence they came up with an idea that what if you could press a button on your phone and get a car at your doorsteps within 5 minutes. A year later, Uber launched as a black cab service, but we moved on to other value products because we realized that there's a lot of scope for improving the transportation system. In 2013, we launched in India with Bangalore being our first city. And since then, we have seen stupendous growth across the world. Currently, we are in over 400 cities across 70 countries. And if you see the growth in India, this graph actually shows you the weekly growth in cities like San Francisco and New York City. And then you see how quickly we have grown in Bangalore. The rate of demand, the spike in demand in Bangalore has been so high. And the main reason for this is that the transportation system in India, the public transportation system in India is broken. It is overstressed. It is not well equipped to address the sort of challenges, the sort of demand that is being fed into the cities on a daily basis. And you need smart solutions to meet that level of demand. So in a span of 3 years, Uber has grown into 27 cities across India and continues to mark stupendous growth in all these cities. And within these 3 years, and this is an international experience also, we have realized that there are 5 factors. Smart mobility does not simply mean harnessing the power of technology to get one person from point A to point B. Smart mobility also means how you're impacting other avenues, other aspects of your lifestyle. And that is where we believe that there are 5 basic points where Uber has been able to make a direct impact on our cities. The very first is on complementing public transit. If we look at the data in Delhi, about 14.7% of trips start or end within 200 meters of a metro station. When we move to more developed public transport systems, such as the one in Singapore or in Paris, we see a spike in this number. In Singapore, 30% of Uber trips start or end within 200 meters of a metro station. And in Paris, this is at 65%. And this is the reason why, in a recent report by the American Public Transport Association, it was concluded that the more people use ride-sharing services like Uber, the more likely they are to use public transport. So we are a direct and a complementary solution to public transport wherever we are operating currently. The second impact that we're having across the world and in India is on cutting down congestion and pollution. And I would like to share some data points with you to put this in perspective about what the gravity of the problem we are dealing with when it comes to congestion in our cities. In Bangalore, about 1,600 new vehicles are added every day. And if you look at the average speed in Bangalore, it has come down to 9 kilometers per hour. When we look at Delhi, the average commute time in Delhi during peak hours is 90 minutes, which means 17 days in a year. 1,493 new vehicles are being added in Delhi every day, and the vehicular density is at 80 vehicles per kilometer. And the average speed right now is 16 kilometers per hour. It falls down to 10 kilometers per hour during peak hours. And many scientists have also concluded that in the next 5 years, if there is no concrete action on this front, this may very well fall to 5 kilometers per hour. And all of this congestion is resulting in huge economic loss. A study by IIM Calcutta revealed that the economic loss is at rupees 60,000 crore per annum to India because of congestion-related delays. In Bangalore, this is at 22,000 crore per annum, and which is also forcing a lot of IT companies based out of Bangalore to reconsider their bases in Bangalore. And obviously, there's a great deal of stress attached with any sort of traffic congestion, parking hassles. And what we are seeing is that every vehicle on the road, the capacity utilization, a vehicle which can take 5 people, is actually taking 1 or 2 people at max. And that is the biggest problem that we're seeing in our cities. And this is the scenario with just 5% car ownership and an asset which is unutilized for 96% of its life. So there is a real problem over here. But there is also a solution. If we harness the power of technology, there is a real solution that can change the course of how our cities are suffering right now. And this is the reason why we came out with ride-sharing services like Uber Pool. And as Sir had mentioned, we were having a discussion with Sir earlier, that it's a very, very simple concept. It is not a new concept. Carpooling as a concept is not new. But what we are doing is we are marrying an old concept with technology to deliver real impact on cities. And what essentially carpooling service is doing is it is using existing assets in a better manner, converting existing assets into shared assets to reduce the congestion, the pollution levels in our city. And this has had a significant impact already in India. Uber Pool has been operational in Bangalore and Delhi for the past 6 months. And we've seen that within these 6 months, we have managed to reduce about 798 metric tons of CO2 emissions across these 2 cities. And over 300,000 liters of fuel have been saved because more and more people are using carpooling services. And the experience in cities like Los Angeles has been even more heartening, because what we have seen is that we've been able to use private vehicles for sharing. And in a span of 8 months in Los Angeles, we were able to reduce CO2 emissions by about 1,400 metric tons. There's another real impact that this service is making in India currently, and that is on the aspect of creating micro-entrepreneurs across the country. Span of 3 years, Uber has created over 350,000 micro-entrepreneurs across India. And this is only because we have been able to reduce the barriers to entry that existed in the traditional transport space while providing a better income opportunities to the people who onboard as driver partners on the Uber platform. And as such, we have entered into many such collaborative exercises with various state governments to create more and more such entrepreneurship opportunities across India. Another real impact that we've seen across the world generally is that how Uber has been able to reduce drunk driving. And there is data to suggest that wherever Uber has entered into a city, the vehicular fatalities on account of drunk driving have reduced. In fact, there's a study done by Stonehill College back in about 3 months back, where they studied data of about 150 cities. And in these 150 cities, they saw that as soon as Uber has entered these 150 cities, there's been a drop of 16.6% in vehicular fatalities on account of drunk driving in these cities. So there's a real impact that, and what we see is that the closing time at nightclubs or late night restaurants is Uber's rush hour. That's when the demand for Uber spikes. So more and more people are shunning the idea of driving after having a few drinks and taking an Uber instead, which is also very, very critical from a road safety perspective. And the very last thing, but one of the most important things, is that the traditional transportation space used to be, there wasn't much in terms of safety experience that was offered in the traditional transportation space. But because of technology, we have been able to bring a great deal of transparency and accountability in this whole system. And really, the safety experience in an Uber ride starts before the ride even starts. Behind the screens, before a driver is onboarded, the driver is made to go through a police verification process, a background check, and then he's onboarded. When you book a ride, you get details of the driver on your app, which includes the photo of the driver, the number of the car, and the car model number. You're able to track that ride in real time from where it is and how much time it will take to reach your destination. During the ride, you have the option of sharing your destination details with 5 family members who can track your ride in real time. At the same time, what we have done is there's an in-app SOS button. You press that button, we have a 24/7 incident response team which is notified, the police is notified, and your emergency contacts are notified. As soon as you press that button, within 30 seconds to 1 minute, someone from the incident response team gets in contact with you. If the situation is of a grave nature, the police is immediately contacted. And in some cities like Pune and in Calcutta, what we have done is we have set up PCR rooms within some police stations where the traffic officials can track all the Uber rides in real time. And as soon as this button is pressed, a trigger goes onto that screen so that the police can track that ride in real time. So, and after the ride is done, we follow a system of feedback rating, which we've seen has been very, very effective in controlling the behavior of riders and drivers alike, because a better rating for a driver results in more incentives, results in more trips, and a better rating for a rider results in less time delays in getting a ride. So these are the 5 main points through which Uber has been able to provide smart mobility solutions across India, and we hope to work with various state government and the central government to offer more innovative products to the Indian market. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rachit Ranjan. Now I invite a very dynamic official from Government of Uttar Pradesh, Sri K. Ravindra Nayak, Transport Commissioner. He will be sharing his experiences in smart cities as well as talking about e-governance initiatives undertaken by the Government of UP in Transport Department. Huge round of applause for Mr. Nayak.
Respected Chairperson, Shri D.H. Misra Sahab, Additional Secretary, Urban Development, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to be here on the day Smart City Summit. I'm grateful to Elite Techno Media, particularly President Mr. Hemant Sethi and CEO Ravi Gupta, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience here. And I also thank them for recognizing the e-initiatives of the Transport Department and giving me the opportunity for sharing the experience. I would like to pinpoint few issues on smart city, thereafter some e-initiatives. This smart city, it's a talk for last 2 to 3 years in various forms, various forums and international, national and different places. But certain action points need to be percolated down. In that area, I would like to pinpoint certain issues for discussion. See, these are all the challenges. Such challenges for as we know that without the smart city is not possible without smart transportation system. So this the urban transport, the smart city without this transportation, it is not possible. So these are all the challenges. The congestion, you know, as just now our earlier speaker spoke, the congestion everywhere all cities are experiencing. Mixed traffic composition, inadequate transport infrastructure, inadequate bus transportation system, and extremely limited urban rail services. Vehicular population is much, much higher, and many such issues, problems are there. Certain improvements, as earlier speakers already highlighted, just improvement in road infrastructure, bypasses, ring roads, service roads, flyovers, road alignment is very much required. Intersection improvement is very much required. See, these all urban local bodies, they must be doing, but the well-coordinated effort is required. And a well-regulated, integrated public transportation system is required. Rail, city, taxi services, all should be integrated in with proper coordination. That unified authority, see, transport department is working in a different direction, traffic department works in a different direction. These local bodies, municipal bodies works in a different direction, development authorities. So these need to be coordinated with the proper coordination. This integrated public transportation system is should be in place. Institutional arrangements, unified urban transport management authority. See, government of India level, at policy level also, and at state government also, policy level, the water transport and road transport and this urban area, this urban development ministry, there should be coordination and unified authority to make policy levels and to send some policies and for execution. At the state government, at state government level also, all these bodies, they work in a different directions. The municipal body works, and for example, that the parking lots is required. This traffic police, they know where parking space is required, but the priorities of urban local bodies, municipalities is much different from the need of the traffic police. That need to be coordinated at unified authority at state agencies also. And the specialist in urban transportation should always be included in urban planning. all urban transport authorities, urban transport specialist is missing. And for the town planner, for the architect, transportation needs is the least priorities for him. The most of the transport, urban, they don't take into consideration the number of vehicular population, the width of the road, and what would be the future requirement. Generally, so this is very much required at planning level itself. And the old cities, particularly the towns, municipal local bodies, they also need to think in a coordinated manner in urban planning. Focus on bus transport system. See, these buses, the public transport is much less than the required. When odd and even scheme has taken place, then public transport was not enough to cater the requirement. So see, this need to be increased. Decentralization of the main business activities, and that should taken out of the cities to decongest the main cities. And the offices also, at the same time, some secretariats, offices need to be relocated at outside. And the traffic, the traffic congestion, the cities, unless we decongest cities, or well-regulated traffic planning, like schools opening, closing, closure of schools, the timings regulation, it is not possible to maintain traffic. And certain melas, fairs, dharnas, these all strikes, this need to be coordinated with the police, traffic, and local bodies. And all of a sudden, some cities face many problems to the citizens. So the smart city should have planning for all these things. And transport nagars, see, each cities must be having these facilities of transport nagars, where all the vehicular requirement need to be given certain parking space, the offices, the requirement, booking, transportation, that takes place from transport nagar. Adequate parking space for public as well as for private vehicles need to be coordinated, cycle, rickshaw, auto, taxis. So the local bodies and development authorities need to coordinate. Self-sufficient, the satellite towns and townships should be created in suburban areas. Some factory, some big business establishments are there within the city, then they should be asked to relocate their residential areas. The satellite towns should be made to decongest the city. Intelligent traffic management system. See, in Delhi also, nobody knows how much time it takes to reach the airport, sometimes congestion. So if it's intelligent traffic management system, there should be a warning system, how much 15 minutes it takes, 20 minutes. In foreign countries, certain cities, it takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes to reach. So this need to be integrated with the GPS, real-time GPS, GPRS-based intelligent traffic management system. Establishment of traffic parks and for traffic awareness. Local bodies also, to decongest the city, it must enforce some area to be closure. All these things should be accommodated to make the city smarter. So these all urban local bodies and all the stakeholders need to take care of these things as per the need. And at the Government of India level, respected Additional Secretaries of is sitting, so some unified authority to coordinate the Urban Development Department, Transport Department, and Water Transport Department, such that some cities may need, like some cities can have integrate with these to water transport and the transportation needs in the cities, and similarly at state governments. So these are all my views for the urban transport. And with regard to, I'll quickly go through, can you come once? I'll quickly go through the initiatives undertaken at the some UP Transport Department. See, the UP Transport Department is with regard to the smart car driving license. See, it's fully computerized. So everybody who goes, so they get smart car driving license. And so far we have issued more than 75 lakhs this driving license with biometrics. Now the duplication and wrong impersonation that has been gone. And this online driving license for learning learning and the permanent driving license applications. Earlier, one person used to go twice to the RTO office, one day for getting the slot booking and the next day for the testing of the driving testing or the learner license testing. But now no need to go him, he need to go for half an hour to 1 hour. Online he has to book the slot, he has to pay the fee, everything, just 15 to 20 minutes for learner license, and he has to come back. And earlier 2 working days for a person going and coming, it's a loss to the nation, and it's lakhs of people, the 2 days for every month 10 lakhs, 2 to 3 lakhs driving license. So near to 22 lakhs driving license, 2 days saving is also big saving for the nation, the working days. So similarly, we have started for this construction of computerized, we have started computerized learner tests. The earlier with the human intervention, the lot of discretion, lot of complaint used to be there. So we have started at a few places this computerized learner test. See, one can go for this 15-20 questions, and out of that few questions, 9 to 60% questions, if they attend, they'll clear that learner test and they can go back to home. So this thing we have taken, and with this a lot of the complaints have come down against the officials. And similarly, this we have recently started, we will be replicating to the entire state, the computerized learner tests. And similarly, initiatives in driving testing systems. See, the driving test also justly, it's manually it's tested. Most of the cases, it's not tested fully. Accidents, you know that in India, it's more than 160,000 people die every year. In UP, near about 18,000 people they die in a year. So it's a huge, unless we go for driving, the skill driving testing, so we cannot reduce the number of deaths in the accidents. So automatic driving testing tracks we are undertaking at 2 places. We will be replicating the entire UP in coming days. Similarly, the 100% dealer point registration. Now whoever buys the vehicle, he doesn't need to go to the RTO office. Earlier he has to go to the RTO office. Now 100% people, 100% dealer point registration. One who buys the vehicle, he has to pay tax, everything there itself. The dealer will give the numbers and all other receipts. That RC book he issues the through RTO office. That's only the interaction is between dealer and RTO office, not with the clients. The lot of complaints have come down. That's the 100% dealer point registration, and we have collected, we have issued 19.5 lakhs vehicles registered with and 1,630 crores we have realized through this facility. Online booking of these notified VIP numbers, that's also through the computers. Online we issue the numbers. No need to go to the office, RTO office. So similarly, 58,540 numbers we have issued book online. Online tax payment. See, the lakhs of people going to the RTO office, the efficiency of the RTO office have also come down, and in between, see, the middleman also, just 1 minute, sir, and in between middlemen, that we could reduce to near about 42% of revenue we have realized through online, collection through online. 50%, near about 50% people, those who are coming to RTO office, that we have reduced. So monitoring the public delivery system through CCTV cameras. We are monitoring any queue is there, and the driving license queue is there, or a fitness queue is there. We monitor through CCTV at centralized place. Whether the queue is there, then we call through a telephone and we'll ask why that queue is there and who is the persons when again standing whole day there. So, and toll-free number also, helpline we are having. Similarly, WhatsApp, SMS, email-based grievances system. And the new software also we are going for Vahan 4 software. Entire country's the vehicular and driving license system we are unifying, and we can see elsewhere's driving license and the vehicular traffic system, vehicle details anywhere in India. That also we are going for. Few states also have come up in 7-8 states among this new software. Mobile-based application is in pipeline. And installation of CCTV cameras, GPS, GPRS in public service vehicles also is in pipeline. We have appointed consultant. Coming days we are going for it. Speed governors in vehicles, security registration plates, smart card registration certificate, GPS, GPRS in auto fare meters, based auto fare meters is in pipeline. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I thank chairperson and all participants here. Any queries, questions, I'm ready to answer you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Naik. Thank you so much. Now, I invite Shri Sandeep Kumar Sultania, Transport Commissioner, Government of Telangana, to put his views about smart transportation, smart urban transportation. Give him a huge round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. All the dignitaries on the dais, all my friends here. I read it somewhere that a smart city is something, is not something where we own, our own cars, fancy cars, more and more number of cars, but a smart city is something where people use public transport. That's what, and I also personally believe, because you see the number of cars on the roads are increasing. I'll just give the data of Telangana state. In 2005, we had 25 lakh vehicles in state of Telangana. Today we have 90 lakh vehicles. Just 10 years of time, the vehicle has almost gone 3.5 times. The roads are not increasing in the same way. It is not the same, the growth. The roads are increasing, and we all are witnessing every day huge traffic jam on each and every city of the country. There is no city practically today in the country where we don't have huge traffic jams. High level of pollution. All these are coming because we are owning more and more number of cars. We are buying more and more number of cars. Buying more and more number of cars has become a sort of our status symbol. If we have one car, we want to buy second car, third car, fourth car, 4 members in the family, 4 cars. So these kind of things are happening, and there is a huge congestion on the road. And whatever technology we use, let me tell you very clearly that if the roads are not decongested by less and less number of vehicles, no technology is going to work. Technology can help us little, but it is not going to create roads for us where you can ply your vehicles. Public transport is definitely a solution, and I understand the government of India is taking a lot of steps. Most of the state governments are taking a lot of steps to increase the public transportation system, whether it is metro rail, whether it is the local road transport corporation. They are trying level-based, but we have a long journey to go. We have huge number of vehicles on the road, and which is causing the biggest problem. And we are going to face the music in times to come when the pollution goes up. You see, in Delhi we had these odd and even kind of schemes. So even if you have a car, you can't use it. So ultimately what will happen, you have to use the same public transport system. So better sort of, even if we are late, but it's better we understand now, each one of us, not only the government sector, even all of us understand that buying more and more car is not going to give the solution. Government also beyond the limit will not be able to decongest the road if the more number of cars are there. Our Additional Secretary, Government of India, Sri Durga Shankar Mishra ji has suggested, more and more carpooling kind of things. We use, in fact, in the smaller villages, smaller towns and all, this is the practice. But as we go up into urban areas, the practice gets totally dissipated. So anyway, now many companies are coming forward to use technology, combine people and the user, combine the car owners and the user. They are coming. There are some legal hurdles, but I'm sure it will be sorted out very, very soon, where carpool is going to become the reality, where, if 4 people are going in the same direction, they can use, 4 people can use the 1 car instead of 4 car to decongest the road. It's better we understand all these things very, very clearly, so that we have a smart transportation. A smart transportation does not mean only use of technology. I'm saying whenever it comes to smart, now we think that it is the use of IT which is going to make everything smarter kind of this thing. But a sort of a seamless travel, an easy travel. You want to go to a hospital and you have a traffic jam. You can't help it. No technology is going to help you. You want to go to a school. You have huge traffic jam. Your children or a teacher will reach late in the school. So these are some of the problems which unless and until it is solved, we are not going to have a smart city or a smart transportation. For that, the solution lies in our hand. We all have to work together and ensure that we have a smart transportation. Technology definitely can play a great use. Like I can give some example which many of the state governments are doing. We are also trying to do. Like when we are traveling on the road, we want sort of a traffic information on a real-time basis. Which road we are going, how is the traffic, whether we are going to reach in time or not. So this kind of real-time information can be supplied by use of technology, and it's not very, very tough. Many state governments are trying to do it through intelligent transport system. Telangana government is also working out this, where we can give real-time information on traffic movement. In Hyderabad city, we have put the visuals of all the CCTV cameras online. Suppose you are going somewhere, you can go to an app made by the Police Department of Hyderabad, where you can see, I am going to that area, how is the traffic? You can see a live stream, which we have made online. Live stream you can see to judge yourself whether, how is the traffic in that particular area. We have also made one more thing, when we travel on the road, and suppose the traffic cops catch us, what kind of horrible experience we have, what kind of problem we face. Suppose you have a driving license, but you forgot to bring it in your car. You have a registration certificate, but it is kept in your home, and a traffic cops catch you. We all understand the kind of experience we have at that time. So Telangana government has taken a step as to why not we supply this electronic form of driving license, electronic form of registration certificate. Even if you forget, it will be there in your cell phone, which you can show it. Government of Telangana has issued orders to all the enforcement authorities to accept that as a valid form of document. If you leave your driving license at home, if you leave your insurance at home for any reason, if you leave your registration certificate at home for any reason, the Government of Telangana has come out with an electronic form of supply of RC and driving license and insurance, and we are going to have this pollution certificate also in that very soon, so that your life becomes seamless. You are not going to face problem from the cop. I would just like to show in my cell phone, because I carry my electronic form of license and I have a peaceful travel on the road. I will not be able to show it on the screen, but this is the way we carry electronic license in Telangana. And in 3 months back, we have launched this app. In fact, we have created a wallet in the app where you can store all in one place. You can store the driving license, you can store the registration certificate, everything you can show it to cop whenever, unfortunately, you get caught by the traffic cops. So technology can definitely play a great role in sort of having a seamless travel, a peaceful travel. But the basic problem is lying somewhere else in transportation that we all have to address. Whether it is government or public, we all have to work together to address the basic problem of transportation, that is the congestion, traffic problem. And I think the sharing mechanism, what Sir has suggested, is definitely going to help us. Use of more and more public transport system is going to help us in times to come. So that is what I would like to share from my side. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sultania. Now, last speaker of this session, I would like to invite Shri Prem Narayanan, Director, Ministry of Railways, Government of India, to put his views. Huge round of applause. Thank you, sir.
Are the smart cities worth 1 lakh crores, Amrit worth 2 lakhs crores, that is the state and the central government share, and Ministry of Housing for all urban, another scheme for the costing 2 lakhs crores. So these three schemes put together are responsible for making the urban transformation in the country. A smart city, as we all know, is a dynamic ecosystem of citizens, authorities, and companies and research centers to cooperate and to develop products and services to foster innovation with the aim to develop an attractive and competitive smart city. There has been spending worldwide on IT. IT plays key role in terms of developing the cities, developing the infrastructure. In last 4 years, 2000 to 2011-14, there has been overall spending of $60 billion in this sector world over. As far as we see the role of IT, the IT network in terms of Internet of Things, innovative services, network security, these are the areas, these are the technologies which are responsible for the putting in place IT technology for making these smart cities. Further to transformation of smart cities, transformation is possible by harmonic integration of infrastructures, citizen and administration. Harmonic infrastructure is very much needed in order to see that citizens get their due in terms of public delivery system, in terms of water supply, buildings, road network, mobility, everything. Further, the IT also plays role in terms of bringing significant impact in improved city management, continuous economic growth, enhanced quality of life, and sustainable urbanization. Smart city structure, the IT's role, the collecting of data at the base level, then putting the data together at interconnected level, and then analysis of the data through cloud computing, and by that providing the medical cloud, digital storage cloud, service cloud. So the IT is playing a key role in terms of providing the smart solution in the smart cities. There are 6 smart forces which are responsible for a city to be smart city. Smart economy. Here, smart economy means the industries which is especially responsible for ICT use in businesses, development of businesses, and the retaining and attracting talent and promoting the creativity. Smart people means the skill and educational level of the people living in the city in terms of education, e-learning, human resource, and R&D activities. Smart governance relates to the active participation in citizen services and the smart use of e-governance, and that will bring transparency, technology, and time saving in the whole working of the smart city governance system. Smart mobility, we had a lot of talk on this. Here, the putting the connectivity and ICT infrastructure, mobile internet, broadband connectivity, and online one travel card system which Metro has, e-booking transport. So these are the e-initiatives for bringing the smart mobility in the city. Smart mobility also mean that transient development where we have the road transport, we have the cycling system, we have the metro system, so that there's a seamless transport available to the public at large. Smart environment is for the use of new technologies to protect and preserve the system, and also to provide security, trust, and culture, as well as identity to the citizens. Smart living means we need to have the electronic health card, online medical services, and also installation of e-community center, so that will bring the smart living. Smart city overview here, once the government of India launched this scheme in 2015, there are certain criteria laid down, and the cities who have done better in the GNRM phase, those cities are getting better advantage because they have already achieved certain reforms and they have improved the infrastructure at large, and they can now send the proposals for the wherever infrastructure is lacking. There were 20 cities selected in this first round, and as such 97 cities participated, and it was a ranking done by the expert panel of World Bank, ADB, LSE, NIUA, and then expert also suggested improvement in the proposals wherever the handholding is required from the mentor institutions. In the fast track round, 13 cities have been selected, and these cities are in the process of formation and establishment of the SPVs. The 20 cities have already put in place the SPVs except NDMC. In this smart city solutions, here the cities are sending the proposals to the ministry in various areas wherever the infrastructure is required. I like to conclude by saying that activities on urban transformation by way of smart city mission implementation has already started. 20 cities selected and their SPV is already in place. Further 13 cities are also have been selected on fast track basis and SPVs are in formation. In total 26 states, cities in 26 states have already been covered as far as the selection of cities are concerned. And this process of smart city mission implementation will bring better and faster results in terms of smart solutions available to the citizens. Thank you very much.
We'll invite questions maybe for the next 5-7 minutes. If anybody question, you can raise your hands. Introduce yourself and then you can raise the question. Yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I am Professor Dr. D.S. Agarwal from Delhi University, but I also work as a NRI investment advisor. एक्चुअली क्वेश्चंस तो बहुत लंबे हो सकते हैं, लेकिन हम क्या सीरियस हैं क्या?
माइक को थोड़ा सा दूर कर दीजिए.
हम सीरियस हैं क्या समस्या हल करने में? तो मेरा
कैन यू प्लीज टेक योर माइक स्लाइटली अवे फ्रॉम योर.
मैं ही कह रहा हूँ कि हम समस्या वाकई अगर हल करना चाहते हैं तो सुझाव तो क्वेश्चन बहुत हैं, लेकिन हमें कहीं लगता नहीं है. मैं वही मोदी जी को भी लेटर लिख रहा था कि हम कहीं सीरियस नहीं हैं, क्योंकि देखिए समस्या इसको अगर अर्बनाइजेशन की जो आप बात कर रहे हैं बहुत अच्छी बात है, सिटीज़ बनना चाहिए, लेकिन अगर हम समस्याएं 3 हमारी मेजर हैं, ट्रांसपोर्ट की भी है, लिविंग की भी है और इसके बाद क्राइम भी बढ़ रहा है. तो इसके लिए मैं तो सिंपल 3 सजेशन मेरे पास हैं कि जो प्रेजेंट स्ट्रक्चर है उसमें तो आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते, उनको तो आपको रिहेबिलिटेट करना होगा. और उसका तरीका ये कि भाई बिल्डिंग आप मल्टी यूज बनाएँ बजाय इसके कि जोनल बनाएं. तो उसके लिए तो आपको कुछ प्लान बनाना पड़ेगा. ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए देखिए जो अभी किसी ने कहा कि पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट यूज़ करें, तो वो ऑलरेडी बहुत ओवर क्राउडेड है. दूसरा सॉल्यूशन ये हो सकता है कि आप एलिवेटेड रोड बना रहे हो, बहुत अच्छा है. जो बहुत मुश्किल क्वेश्चन वो ये है कि क्या हम माइग्रेशन जो यहाँ हुआ है वापस गांव में भेज सकते हैं क्या? ये भी एक सॉल्यूशन शायद हो जाए, मुझे नहीं लगता. मैं तो अब हिंदुस्तान छोड़ के जा रहा हूँ बहुत जल्दी, तो मुझे लगता है वो भी एक समस्या है कि गांव में को लोग मिलते नहीं हैं और शहर में रहने की जगह नहीं है और क्राइम है. तो आप लोग इतने बड़े बड़े लोग बैठे हैं मिनिस्ट्री से, रेलवे से, सबसे, तो एक सीरियस थॉट दीजिए कि अब 67 साल में देश में जो विकास होना चाहिए था वो तो बहुत अच्छा हुआ है, लेकिन क्या इसको हम डिसेंट्रलाइज कर सकते हैं कहीं क्या? थैंक यू.
और कोई क्वेश्चन? Anybody else? I think there is no question. Okay, thank you. There is no further question. जो आपने अग्रवाल साहब आपने बताया, मिस्टर डॉक्टर अग्रवाल, प्रोफेसर इन दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी. Okay, well, nice to have shared your thoughts. You cannot take the wheel back. I mean, you can't expect the people who are living in the urban areas to go back to the rural area. Because people have migrated from the rural area to the urban area in search of certain things. They thought they will have a better educational facilities, they will have better health facilities, they will have better entertainment facilities, they will have better employment opportunities, so they can improve their whole quality of life, and that's how they migrated from the rural to the urban area. Unless and until you make rural area get the same kind of amenities which is available in the urban area, which is there. I mean, I have been in Sydney, and in Sydney you find the rural area is as good as the urban area. I mean, they find all the, whether a sewer system or a sanitation system or everything is available in the rural area. So unless and until you convert the rural area having the similar kind of amenities, people are not going to migrate back to the rural area. That is for sure. In fact, people will keep moving from the rural to the urban area. So we will have to cater to, I mean, the whole urban growth will have to be moderated in such a way that the urban area does not become so much congested. We have smaller cities growing, bigger cities which have already become out of proportion. It's very difficult to govern, so they need not increase any further. In fact, in that, approach only, this National Capital Region Board, NCRPB, National Capital Region Board was created having the states of Delhi and some districts of Haryana, some districts of Rajasthan, some districts of Uttar Pradesh. This NCRPB and using some counter magnet areas, some development of that area, that has led to the growth of this NCRPB in the last decade has been less than 25%, whereas the national growth has been more than 30%. This has gone down from the earlier decade also. Like 91 to 2001 and 2000 and 2011, the growth is less in the NCRPB. This is the kind of finding, so we cannot take it back. The second thing which you raise, that well, to address to the issue of the transport, address to the issue of the congestion, why not have more elevated road and all that? Experience world over has been adding more and more signal-free roads lead to more traffic, more congestion, more number of vehicles coming on the road. When you provide this signal-free movement, people are attracted, people are motivated to buy more and more cars. In fact, some of the countries, some of the places, like you study London, you study Melbourne, you study Seoul, they have gone and they have, I mean, in Seoul, they just broke one of the elevated road. And now it has becomes a very beautiful place where people can walk. When you provide more non-motorized facilities in some of the areas in London, they have converted where you could take your vehicles. Now you cannot take your vehicle, you only have to walk. You can walk or use some other modes of transport, like people who are incapacitated, they can take such vehicles which are pollution-free, which are operated on the solar energy or maybe electrical energy, but they are not creating any pollution and they are taking the least space on the road. So, I mean, creating more and more elevated road is not a solution to congestion. It is only postponing the problem for the time being. Maybe for the next 5-6 years, you are free, and that may be the experience in Delhi you must be experiencing. I mean, anywhere you have created elevated road, maybe for 5 to 6 years, you got some relief, but after that, there is more and more congestion. So that is not a solution. In fact, very recently, Government of India, there was a committee, high power committee constituted under the chairmanship of Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development. That committee has submitted a report, and the report is very much available on our website. It is decongesting traffic in Delhi. The report on decongesting traffic in Delhi. I invite you to read the report. And in that report, I mean, the strategy is how to reduce the vehicular traffic on the road by proper management of the parking space, by more and more urban transport, more and more maybe public transport, you will be able to reduce the total number of vehicles, or even the sharing of the carpooling and all that, you can reduce the number of vehicles on the road, and that will decongest Delhi. And that is the similar kind of approach you can take any metro city. You cannot decongest by adding more elevated road, more underpasses, but by reducing underpasses and elevated road and providing more and more public transport and non-motorized transport. That is the another approach. The third is, which you mentioned about, I think technology is the solution. Technology offers immense solutions, like intelligent transport system. Intelligent transport system, it has been, it is there now. Some of the cities in our country like Mysore, Bangalore, New Raipur, some of the cities have added that intelligent transport system. Some of the cities are slowly moving towards the intelligent transport system. And that is one thing which, because our numbers are immense, very huge number of people are moving on the roads. So intelligent transport system can provide facility whereby it is intermodal integration from one transport to another transport, where to get the transport, how much you want to, how much money you have to spend for all these facilities are available through this. Not only that, even how to reduce the density, or what kind of route you can take, alternative route you can take, all these information can be available through the intelligent transport system. So there are various things are available, and I think country is moving in the right direction, where coming right from the top, Honorable Prime Minister, who has said that urbanization is not a problem, urbanization is not a challenge, but it's a big opportunities for everybody. It's a big opportunity for everybody to invest and to help this. Right now our total contribution to the GDP from the urban sector is around 63%. The population is only 32%. And this growth is going to grow to 75% when we move this population to 32% to 40%. The total contribution to the GDP is going to become 75%. So it's going to be more and more, and people are going to become more and more productive. The challenge is how to address this issue. And I think Professor Agrawal, or maybe there are many more intelligent people who are into the industry, into the academia, into the various other sectors, they can contribute very positively towards a better quality of living for our citizens. Because whatever we think of, we have to think citizens right in the center of all our thoughts and all our solutions. Thank you. Close it here. There are sessions. I think there was no more questions. So I think 2 more sessions to go. We can close it here. I would like to thank all my panelists here who have contributed. In fact, our time was only up to 3:30, and now it is coming close to 4:20, 4:17, 4:18. So I would like to thank all the panelists here for contributing to this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your precious time and your valuable suggestions and your views about smart cities and smart urban transportation. Now I request Shri Rachit Ranjan, Public Policy and Government Relations, Uber, to present a speaker memento to Shri Durga Shankar Mishra, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India. Can we have a speaker memento on the dais? Huge round of applause. And I request Shri Durga Shankar Mishra, Additional Secretary, to present speaker mementos to all the eminent panelists in this session. Shri K. Ravindra Nayak, Transport Commissioner, Government of Uttar Pradesh. Huge round of applause. Shri Sandeep Kumar Sultania, Transport Commissioner, Government of Telangana. Thank you. Thank you all the speakers.